Hey guys, Levelcap here, and today we're going to talk about the Doom closed beta. This just opened up on the 31st. It's going to run through the weekend. If you pre-ordered Wolfenstein like last year, you'll get access to it. There's a few other ways to get access, but if you don't have it right now, then chances are you probably won't get it. Now, we all know, of course, that there's going to be a single player with Doom. It's generally been Doom has focused a bit more on the single player, and Quake has been more about multiplayer. It's just been the way that the games have gone, but this one looks to have a multiplayer very, very similar looking to Quake. In fact, it reminds me the most of Quake 3 Arena. There's rocket launchers, double-barreled shotguns, plasma rifles, armor pickups, quad damage, a lot of elements that come straight out of Quake's multiplayer. So this game in a way seems like it's trying to hybridize Quake and Doom. However, if you're expecting a Quake 3 Arena multiplayer, there's going to be a lot of different elements here. One major change is the fact that you actually start out with whatever weapons you want now. You can carry a primary and a secondary, and it doesn't really matter which one goes where. You can have a primary rocket launcher, or a secondary rocket launcher, or a primary plasma rifle. So you can literally start off with the rocket launcher, whereas in the traditional Quake 3 Arena, you'd actually have to go and pick it up in the first place. So running around the map trying to pick up weapons is no longer really an element. You do have to run around the map, though, and pick up ammo and health when you get hurt, and then there's quad damage, and of course a demon power-up, which I think is a little bit overpowered for some of the team deathmatch game modes. Makes a little bit more sense in the Warpath game mode. Now, Warpath is basically just an evolution of King of the Hill. There's a capture point. Whichever team captures the point for the longest period of time during the round wins at the end. However, the capture point itself moves throughout the map, and you can see the path itself. It's illuminated, so you know exactly where it's going. You know where it is, so you can set up an ambush if you want. But it basically means that if you're defending the point, you have to constantly be moving with it as well. So your surroundings are always changing, which means you can't really set up like constant ambushes. You're just running around and moving constantly, and it's fun, it's chaotic, and it definitely brings all the action to one area. I think it's a good game mode, and it suits this style of shooter. Now, I haven't seen any jump pads in the game yet. There are teleports and basically grav lifts that get you up to higher elevations, and then you can double jump as well. So you can definitely get some air in this game, which is useful if you're a rocket launcher fan, as I am, as it helps to aim at the ground. But the rocket launcher's got some changes too. You can now manually detonate the rocket if you want. It's going to take a little time getting used to, but basically if you want to aim at somebody directly and the rocket like flies right past their head, well, you can manually detonate it to do some splash damage for them, but it's going to be pretty tricky to do, and you have to be ready for it. Now, there certainly is a high skill gap to this game, higher than most shooters out there. Is it as high as Quake 3 Arena? I'm going to say probably not. But it doesn't mean that your aim or timing or jumping mechanics are not important. They certainly are in this game. One other element that is entirely new to the Quake or Doom style arena shooter is the ability to sort of customize your player in more ways than you could before. Now, you can go into your guns and customize the wear and tear of them. You can totally go in and customize the color combinations. It looks a bit campy overall, but that is kind of in line with the traditional Quake 3 Arena style of doing things. You could have kind of neon coloring and stuff. It looked pretty awful in Quake 3 Arena, if I'm being honest, and for some reason they decided to continue it on in this game. I think it would have been cooler if they just designed custom skins that you could unlock over time rather than letting people make all these just ugly neon green and orange abominations. And then, of course, there are taunts. Now, I'm not sure if the beta has unlocked everything for us. My guess is no. The level cap so far is 15, and you can hit it pretty quickly just in the course of like an hour or two playing the beta. I certainly hope that there's more colors and potentially customized skins and soldiers that you can unlock later in the game, because otherwise there's just not going to be much to do in terms of unlocking or gathering items and that kind of stuff. If you're into that sort of thing, if you're a completionist and you like objectives and goals. Now sure, the multiplayer is fun. I don't know if it'll appeal to the hardcore Quake 3 fanatics. I mean, it's got some elements in there, but it's also kind of hybridizing itself with other game designs, perhaps trying to appeal to more of the casual player as well. It's hard to say who's going to enjoy this style of shooter in the long run. I've certainly enjoyed it so far, but I don't know how many more hours I have left in it. But what I'd like to do is kind of switch gears here and talk about the PC aspect of this game and how Bethesda and id have not had a good track record with their PC versions of games. And at the moment in the beta, the settings and the options are pretty abysmal. I ran into quite a few problems already, and as much as I would love to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, this game is beta right now, they'll improve it by launch. Well, I mean, their last game, Rage, holy crap, did that have a bad PC launch all around. Barely playable. So there's just a huge lack of settings right now in this game that should definitely be there for the PC side. I mean, this is something that's supposed to really appeal to those Quake 3 Arena fans, right? So give us more PC settings. Right now there's no field of view slider. I was trying to test out my FPS on this. Somebody said it's actually capped at 60 FPS right now. I was having a horrible time trying to record this game. None of my recording software wanted to work well with it, so that's kind of a negative aspect in terms of just trying to make video content. Anti-aliasing is always on unless you turn it off manually on your GPU, so I had to go into the NVIDIA drivers and turn it off, and it was causing massive input lag with my mouse right off the start, so I had to do a lot of tweaking just to get the game to perform up to my standards. I don't think it plays very well with SLI, so you have to turn that off. Motion blur is like on by default all the time, and I think you can turn it off in like an INI file, but again, it requires you to go into like files and start typing in different codes and different values and stuff, and the settings just are not available in the menu right now. I don't know if it has plans to put them in the menu, but at the moment it's really not in a great state. I was talking to Bong from Two Angry Gamers, and he was having trouble remapping some of the keys that he really wanted to, so if you have a very custom setup or you like wildly different keys, you might have some trouble with that. I rebound a few of them, but I guess if you need something more advanced, you might run into some problems there. I did notice an advanced settings tab. It is grayed out in the beta, so that gives me some hope that it is working on some more features. Why they wouldn't give us the ability to mod this in beta seems really silly to me, because that's a very important aspect of beta, especially considering that GPUs and drivers and all that kind of stuff have problems with certain kinds of graphics settings. Anti-aliasing is notorious for causing input lag, so not being able to turn that off in your settings right now is really bad for a game that you absolutely want no input lag whatsoever. So id, as much as I would love to give you guys the benefit of the doubt, your track record with Rage has not been great, so I'm just hoping, got my fingers crossed, that you really get the PC support in here by launch. Otherwise you're just going to have a lot of upset fans, and I'm really sick of AAA game companies fixing it after launch. I'm just tired of it, and I feel like developers should figure it out already. Hey, if it's broken at launch, you're going to lose a huge portion of your fan base right off the bat, and then multiplayer may never take off because people who were really excited about it stopped playing it because it wasn't working at launch. So I just hope everything's up to snuff. Now, if they do get everything up and running and it's got a nice, stable, solid launch, then I think it could be a fun little multiplayer game. And I'm not trying to be coy here or downplay the multiplayer, but at the end of the day, I think we're going to have to look at Doom as a predominantly single player game with a multiplayer option out there. I just don't think it's going to hold up to maybe hardcore Quake 3 Arena fans, and it's certainly not going to have the progression game of somebody who is familiar with Call of Duty or Battlefield, who wants to unlock and customize and all that kind of stuff. It just doesn't look like it's going to be able to compete on either front like that. So it'll be a fun little game, but ultimately I think if you're going to buy Doom, you're probably going to want to buy it for the single player. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I think that's actually going to be enough reason for me to want to buy the game, because the single player actually looks like a lot of fun. Anyway, that kind of wraps it up for my overview on the Doom multiplayer beta on PC. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.